Hola, beautiful wizards and people and fairy folk at home. It's me again. I just want to send you all lots of love and lots of pleasure today, because today's video I'm going to be discussing pleasure and the importance of it. And actually it's far more important than most people even realise. And a lot of the problems we face today in society are coming directly from a lack of pleasure that we all are allowed to feel in our bodies. I mean, we are all starting to relate to the pain body, and we are all closing down the pleasure body. And this begins in very early childhood, and all the way back through time. You can see that, you know, children, we have this system of punishment and reward. So from a very young age, children have been punished severely using violence and aggression, and they are taught that pleasure in the body is somehow wrong. You know, we shouldn't want to experience pleasure. All the religions we've been given have told us, you know, pleasure is wrong. Wanting to enjoy sexuality, wanting to enjoy the pleasures of the flesh is wrong. And but violence is okay. You know, there's lots of violence everywhere. We watch violence on the TV, it's very acceptable. We have violent movies. All children's stories even are really about violence, very little about pleasure in there. So from a very, very young age, we are taught to shut down the pleasure body and activate the pain body. And it even goes as deep as, you know, in America, as soon as babies come out the womb, the first experience they have is pain. Pain, activating the pain body. The first thing that happens is they're given a hepatitis B jab. You know, so it really runs that deep. And then even think about how so many babies, especially in the West now, we're not even breastfed. We don't have that 2 years of very close nurturing and affection and pleasure of the physical contact of the mother at the breast, the suckling. It's just replaced with a plastic bottle in your bed, sometimes not even held close to get your sustenance. So this is something really deeply affecting us all. So I just wanted to say, this is wonderful, feeling pleasure. The pleasure body. We need to start learning to stimulate our pleasure body and not feel guilty for it. And in fact, I believe that pleasure is a form of enlightenment, that the path of pleasure brings you closer to creation, creator, whatever you want to call it, yourself, your higher self, the better part of you, whatever name, whatever title you give that essence that all springs forth from. Pleasure is actually what connects us to it. That's why we have orgasmic pleasure. That's why when we meditate, we feel bliss, we feel joy. Some of the most amazing feelings of orgasmic pleasure that I've ever experienced have been through meditation and a Kundalini awakening, of just connecting to the universe. It feels even like a sexual pleasure. And we shouldn't feel any shame. No child should be made to feel shame of pleasure. And in fact, it should be encouraged in a safe, healthy format for them. One of the worst things you can do to your children is make them feel ashamed of wanting to feel pleasure in their bodies, especially during their adolescence. And then if you couple that with the violent beatings for them when they misbehave, you are going to build generation upon generation of dysfunctional beings. It is incredibly important for us to feel pleasure, because when we're feeling pleasure, the violent pain body, that part of ourselves, is closed down. When you're in the middle of an orgasm, the last thing on your mind is going out shooting and killing people, because pleasure is like, it's the opposite of pain and aggression and violence. You know, pleasure, joy and bliss. These are all things that every human needs. It's such an integral part of what we are and what we need. It really connects us to the body, and there's nothing wrong with really connecting to the body and feeling pleasure throughout your skin, you know, your organs. It regenerates you. It generates energy in the body. And for anyone who is suffering from an inability to feel pleasure or sexual pleasure and is suffering from dysfunction, I highly recommend beginning pleasure body therapy. It's something that I'm sort of creating. I've been meditating on this issue myself. When I was a child, I was heavily punished for not being an acceptable human being, i.e. I didn't want to fit into the bullshit boxes everyone wanted me to fit in, so I was beaten for that. That was just the way it was done when I was a child. Everyone who misbehaved got severely beaten. So, and I didn't get much affection. My mother wasn't an affectionate person. She didn't really give me any cuddles or any physical affection. So I was beaten and I lacked affection. And then as I got older, the first experiences I had of intimate natures or sexuality were very harmful. So I quickly became very dysfunctional and distorted in my ability to receive pleasure. So I've been meditating on this a lot lately, how to heal myself, and this is the information that started to come through for me. It was explaining to me about the pleasure body. It's actually an energetic thing that exists within us as much as a pain body. So we have a pain body and we have a pleasure body. And what had happened, Creator told me, is that the pain body had been instated over my pleasure body, so I couldn't access the pleasure body. It was blocking it. So what I was explained what I should do is to spend time in a very safe environment, tuning into my pleasure body, just finding ways to do that. And so if you want to heal yourself of any sexual dysfunction or physical pleasure dysfunction you might be experiencing, start off weekly, daily, just finding ways to anchor yourself into your body and to experience pleasure. So, you know, you might want to just have yourself or someone that you trust and that you love or might be intimate with, take a feather and just spend some time, you know, tickling the skin, so feeling all the energy of the nerves and the cells as they come alive with energy and pleasure light in the body, really connecting into the pleasure centers and letting go of all guilt and shame of wanting to feel pleasure. And if it's a sexual dysfunction you're facing, obviously you would do that without then it leading to any sort of sexuality. So find someone you feel safe with, a man or a woman, no matter what sex you are, and just start daily, weekly bringing pleasure back into your reality, back into self, because pleasure will heal you. Pleasure will revitalize every cell in the body and regenerate you. It might be a long process. If you've experienced a lot of violence or abuse, it might be a long process, and but it's going to work. This is what my message was that came through to me. So yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy the pleasure. You can't go wrong, really. Go and have a massage. Go and get pampered. Find someone you love to just spend time caressing or tickling you or feeding you chocolate or anything that you enjoy, smelling beautiful flowers, things, and don't feel guilty. We need more pleasure. Stop watching violence on TV that just stimulate the pain body, the adrenaline response. This is what overrides the pleasure body. We don't need all this aggressive, distorted entertainment. Do as many things in your day-to-day life that can bring pleasure to you, because if we were living in a world full of people that were experiencing a lot of pleasure on a daily basis, society would be transformed completely. So I'd love you guys to think about that and give me some feedback down below. It would be a pleasure to hear from you guys. So go ahead, feel pleasure today, don't feel guilty, and I love you guys, and one love.